would say that if you set your mind to something, you can achieve it. And, we got a bit lucky with the ballot and getting the tickets for the game. I understand that. But if we hadn't put our mind to it, then we would have just been in England working, and we were in Brazil having a good time.
Welcome to the Crossing It Off podcast, where each episode we share the stories of individuals that are living out their bucket/life goal lists. I am your host, Roger Williams, and through hearing our guests' adventures, my goal is that you will find encouragement and empowerment to add and cross items off of your list. Welcome everybody to the show. Excited you're here. A lot of times when creating our bucket list, we use items that we're already passionate about, or build items around things we're already passionate about. And in today's world, a lot of people are passionate about sports, and large sporting events are no longer regional, whether it's the Super Bowl or the World Series or even WWE's annual WrestleMania. People travel all around the world from different parts to go see sporting events. And that's exactly what our guest today crossed off his list. Rob Smallbone describes himself as an adventurous traveler, a football enthusiast, and lives for new experiences. Rob, welcome to the show.
Roger, thanks for having me, and look forward to sharing experiences on the show.
Yeah, so let's get to it. What did you cross off your list?
It was to attend a FIFA World Cup match.
Okay, so for those that may not know, especially in the United States, and what is FIFA and what is a World Cup match? Which sport is that?
So we're talking about soccer. So that style. We're talking about soccer. And the FIFA World Cup is an event that happens every 4 years. And as you can tell from the accent, I am from England. So that was on the list of things to do, was to see England play a World Cup.
Nice. We can call it football because half my audience is from outside the United States. So I'm okay with calling it football. That's not a problem for me. So every 4 years, that seems to be, unlike the Super Bowl here in the United States that happens every year. Is there more anticipation for that? It's kind of like the Olympics. Is there more anticipation for that as you as a fan, that you have to wait every 4 years?
I think so. I think that the fact that it's rare, like the Olympics, that the minute the year you get into it, and assuming you qualify, and England's qualification record is in recent years pretty good. It's not a guarantee that we're there, but we normally get there. And the few months leading up to it, it does start getting quite exciting. So all countries that could win the World Cup, and I enjoy that. So I'd agree with you. It is rare. Every 4 years, I would say that the excitement definitely does build up. Yeah.
And so when did you put this on your list? Like, when did you say, okay, I'm going to go to a World Cup match?
Without waffling, without giving too much waffle, I'll provide a little bit of background context, if I may.
Sure.
So my now business partner and I, we were traveling. No, we weren't traveling. Actually, I'll tell a lie. It was 2010. We just graduated from university here in Brighton, in England, and we were sat on the beach, and this was just before the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, and there's three of us talking, and we said, it would be amazing to be able to go to a World Cup. The 2014 World Cup, which is the one we're talking about, happened to be in Brazil. Brazilians are very good at their football, and we said
their fans get real excited too.
Yeah, exactly. So we were sat on Brighton Beach, and we said, it would be really good to go to the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. That's what we'd like to do. And over an ice cream on Brighton Beach in 2010, that's when the plan was hatched.
So 4 years in advance, that's a long time to wait, to cross off an item. That's really interesting to me. So you're even though this is English style football, it's you're already planning to go to Brazil to see this match. And so is it always changing from year to year? Every 4 years it goes someplace different? You said South Africa and then Brazil.
Yeah, so the FIFA World Cup in general is held in a new continent, or held in a different continent every 4 years. So we've had 2010 was South Africa, 2014 was Brazil, 2018 was Russia. This year, 2022 is in Qatar, which I won't get into the politics behind how or why it happens to be there. And then 2026 is what I would call North America, some in Canada, USA, and Mexico.
Right.
So it goes around the globe. And yeah, we knew they normally give out the destination 5, 6, 7 years in advance. So we already knew that the World Cup was going to be in Brazil. And, you know, that was it. We just kind of hoped that England would qualify would be the next thing.
Right. I was just going to ask that. So do you buy tickets that far in advance and you're just hoping that your team makes it, and then what happens if they don't?
So yeah, on that, what we done, Roger, is that we started saving. We had just graduated university. We went to went off, you know, get a regular job and that sort of stuff.
Right.
And we just started putting some savings into a savings pot. England ended up qualifying in the end, which was great. And once all the teams had qualified, you then know they do the World Cup draw, so you know who's in what group, and then you know who's playing who. You know the cities where they're going to be, and then after that's been done, that's when you can start applying. Or normally that's when you can start applying for tickets.
Okay.
This is 2013. I think we applied for the tickets.
Okay, that's awesome. And then so you had to you had to get your tickets. Is that like a lottery system as far as whether you win? Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you bought them in a group, I'm sure, because if you didn't, somebody in that 3 may not have made it to the match.
Yes. So the way that we done it, we said that it would be good if we could see all England games. When we found out where England were playing, so England played their games all across Brazil, and as you can imagine, Brazil was a big country. To get from, it was difficult to get to all the places. So we just said, if we can see the last group game, which was in a place called Belo Horizonte,
okay,
and we were staying in Rio. We stayed in Rio de Janeiro for 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh!
So
that's a lot. That's a bigger commitment than going to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl ticket prices are probably about the same, but that's a big commitment. 6 weeks.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about it, Roger, was that on going back to sitting on Brighton Beach, one of our friends. There's only 2 of us that ended up going, so there wasn't 3. There's only 2 of us. He ended up getting married. Fair enough. But he said the famous lines of, well, if we're going to go to South America, you might as well travel South America at the same time. So, you know, Aaron and myself, who I went with, you know, we just said, you know, let's book 6 weeks in Rio. Let's chill out, use the beach, etc. But Belo Horizonte, which is where England's 3rd game was, that was a 7-hour bus journey up the road. So it was easy to get to. Yeah, we thankfully, after going into the ballot for the tickets, we were allocated tickets for England against Costa Rica. So, you know, it wasn't a foregone conclusion. We still had to go into that ballot process. And yeah, we were incredibly, I remember getting the email to say you've been allocated tickets to watch England. I was, you know, incredibly excited, really looking forward to doing that. And we were also allocated another game in Rio, but that wasn't England related. But it was just exciting to be able to say, I've been to the World Cup, I've watched England play, and that's a cool experience.
So describe that part of it, right? We've talked about the how so far. So explain, like, you walk into this stadium, are there more it's Brazil, so are there more Costa Rican fans there, or is it a mix, or is it locals that just picked a team? How did it feel when you walked in there as far as the excitement around the game, the match?
To be honest with you, Roger, it was terrible.
I'm excited to announce the release of my new book, Live Out Your List, Finding Joy Through a Bucket List Lifestyle. The book covers the 3 stages of the lifestyle, including bucket list mindset, bucket list creation, and bucket list management. It provides tips and strategies to enhance wherever you are in your bucket list journey. To learn more about the book and to receive 10% off when you purchase the ebook, visit crossingitoffpodcast.com/book. Purchase the book today and start to live out your list. Now back to the show.
But the reason for that is because so in England's group, or in the 2014 World Group, it was England, Italy, Uruguay, and Costa Rica. Now, for those that might not be familiar with football, Uruguay have won the World Cup twice. Italy have won the World Cup a few times. England have won it once. Costa Rica, almost there to make up the numbers. And
right.
I'm sorry if people are listening to this and they're Costa Rican. I don't mean that disrespectfully. It is,
sure.
Most people will look at it that way. But the thing is that the World Cup, it hadn't gone to plan. So England played Costa Rica in the last group game, but England had lost both their games. Costa Rica, I think, had won both their games.
Wow.
England were already knocked out. So it was a dead rubber. There was, it had no importance at all to England fans. We'd been knocked out. The World Cup's gone. It was a horrible year. So in terms of the excitement and everything, it was very flat. It was
right.
We're able to tick it off the bucket list, which is wonderful, and that's cool. And it's a new stadium. It's, get to see England at a World Cup, but that's great. But at the same time, it was a case of, oh, this team's rubbish. Oh, we've already gone, we've knocked out. What's the point? What are we doing here? So mixed emotions, I would say.
Yeah. When it was over, did you still feel that same way, or were you glad? Did the experience trump the not moving on for England?
The experience was worth it. Even though the disappointment of knowing that England wouldn't play anymore in that cup game, in the World Cup, the experience was awesome. When I look back at it now, and when Aaron does as well, we say, we saw, I think, a couple of players retired after that game. So we could say, we saw their last game. We were the only team that didn't lose to Costa Rica in the group. So, we take the positives where we can.
Right.
The game was terrible as well. It finished 0-0. It wasn't a good game of football, but the experience of saying that we've done it was, delightful. I'd love to see England win a major tournament in my lifetime. That would be two things I'd like to see happen. England win a major tournament, which would be delightful. And as an American football fan, I'd love to see the Jets win Super Bowl because I support the New York Jets. So I'd love to see one of those two things happen.
Was there something, you talked about the game being flat, but besides that, with your experience, was there something that you didn't enjoy besides the game being a little lopsided and not exciting for you?
No, not really. Apart from all the England fans being miserable, there was a lot of local fans, Brazilian fans in the stadium. So they bring their own flair and their own atmosphere as well. The Costa Rica fans, of course, they were progressing to the next round. So there was a lot of talk in between both sets of fans. So it was good. It was good atmosphere. They were really happy. The whole atmosphere of the game and the stadium was, I would say, was very positive. And a lot of that's down to the amount of locals that were there, because, you know what Brazilians are like. They're very positive outlook of life. They're always smiling. They know how to have a good time, and that made up for it.
So there 6 weeks, you saw 2 matches. In between that, were you able to meet other folks from England? Were you able to, what was the atmosphere like off the pitch?
It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal because there was just this great vibe around the whole the whole of Rio, the whole country. We watched a few games on Copacabana Beach. So, we've met Greeks, Colombians, Argentinians, German. I mean, loads of countries, loads of different people. That was really good. Brazil, until they got to the semi-finals, Brazil were having a decent tournament. So that really helped the atmosphere as well in the country. So that was really good. And it was just lovely to be able to have a couple of drinks with people from different countries, a couple of beers, have a laugh, talk football, talk about different experiences. And, in general, the whole 6 weeks in Rio, there's loads to see and do in that city anyway. We didn't get bored. There was so much to see and do. And it was just good to soak up that style of life.
If someone said, okay, I want to go to the 2026, right? That would be the next one after this year's. And they said, I'm thinking about going. What would be a piece of advice that you would say, if you're going to do this, you need to, and it could be anything. What was that thing that they would need to do?
Planning and preparation is useful. Make that commitment. It's very easy to say, I'm going to go to the 2026 World Cup. But if you're serious about it and you're not fortunate to be Canadian, a US citizen or Mexican, and you're traveling from the other side of the world, you need to plan that. You need to book in advance. You need to start saving for that experience. And that's what we've done. We found that the planning, the preparation was crucial. Yeah, really just plan it, Roger. That would be the key bit of advice. And have a good time when you're there.
Yeah, for sure. What's one thing you learned about yourself, Rob, by crossing this item off?
I think when I look back at it, I realized that if you set your mind out to do something, that you can do it. I appreciate that. This episode is just about a sporting goal. You've had a plethora of different people talk about way more intricate goals, to be fair, on the show than seeing a country at a World Cup match. So I appreciate that. But I would say that if you set your mind to something, you can achieve it. And, we got a bit lucky with the ballot and getting the tickets for the game. I understand that. But if we hadn't put our mind to it, then we would have just been in England working, and we were in Brazil having a good time.
What's something that you want to cross off your bucket list that's completely different than going to see a World Cup match? You can't say 2026. What's something else besides that?
Good question. I think if I can stick on a sporting theme, though, I would absolutely. I'd love to go to a Super Bowl. To be honest, I'm a big American football fan. I would love to see the New York Jets win Super Bowl again. I mean, I appreciate Super Bowl III was a long time ago. I get that, but I'd love to see my New York Jets win Super Bowl. That would be. Life would be complete if that happened, I think.
Okay. Well, how'd you get into American football? That's a good question for me. What drew you to American football instead of soccer?
So, when I was at university in 2006, I actually started on the American football team. Our university team, not a brilliant level of the sport, but that got me involved with people that enjoyed the game. And New York was the first place I went to in the United States.
Okay.
And I went there. I went into a sports shop, and unbeknown to me, you've got a big set of blue jerseys, which of course I now know are the New York Giants, and a big set of green jerseys. So I kind of looked at them and went, okay, I quite like the look of the green. Thankfully, ended up picking a shirt that had Revis on the background. I love a bit of Darrell Revis. And that was it. If I'd have gone to Kansas, I'd probably be a Chiefs fan. But no, New York was the first place I went to. I picked the green team. And the last 10 years have been miserable. So it's worked out all right.
With all sports fandoms, that tends to be the case. So you got ups and downs, and sometimes you're a winner and sometimes you're a loser, excuse me. Rob, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it greatly. Is there someplace online that people can get a hold of you and other stuff that you're doing?
easiest place to listen to some of the work I do, Roger, is if people find the Property Nomads podcast, that iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, you'll be able to listen to a blend of property news, business news, and travel. We do all three aspects in the same podcast. Mm-hmm. So you can hear a lot more about our South American adventures on the podcast as well. And we've got a few property related books that are on Amazon as well. And again, just search my name, Robert Smallbone, on Amazon. The books will appear. And if you want to email me for whatever reason, rob@tpnpodcast.com email. I will always check my emails. So that's the easiest way to get hold of me personally.
Awesome. We will put all those active links in the show notes so that folks can go there and just click away to find you. Rob, thank you so much for sharing. It meant a lot to me. I appreciate it, especially the time zone differences, you coming on and sharing your experience with the World Cup.
Thank you, Roger, for the opportunity to be able to do so. It's been great to tap into, what we'd done a few years ago, and it will always mean something special. So thank you for helping me tap in, and hopefully the audience gets some value out of what we've just spoke about as well.
As a reminder to our listeners, in this episode's show notes, you will find links to learn more about this week's guest and information on how you can cross this item off of your list. You can follow my adventures of crossing items off my bucket list on Instagram and Facebook. And as always, new episodes of this podcast are available to stream every Friday morning. We will meet you here next week. And until then, keep living out your list.